I'm very pleased to welcome two persons from Zimbabwe. We will have a long discussion on our ideas to get a better knowledge of these African countries producing milk and dairy products. We have the honor to welcome two persons, Mr. Edward Warambua. Good morning, Good afternoon, Mr. Warambua.
Afternoon, sir. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for this. Mr. Warambua is president of the Zimbabwe Association of Dairy Farmers, but he is also a dairy farmer. And I will ask him in a few seconds to give a few figures about his farm.
Okay.
In a few seconds, I will ask you about your farm. And I have also the honor to welcome Miss Patience Shadoka. She is the CEO of the Zimbabwe Association of Dairy Farmers. Good afternoon, Ms. Shadoka.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Mr. Warambua, you have a farm. Can you just give a few figures? Is it a big farm, a small farm? How many cows? A few figures for people to better know who you are as a farmer.
Thank you very much. My name is Edward Warambua. I'm a dairy farmer in Zimbabwe, and I also happen to be the national chairman of Zimbabwe Association of Dairy Farmers. I have about 160 dairy animals, where I milk about 100 animals, and on average, I'm getting about 20 liters per cow per day.
So, just to start on to really have a kind of overview about Zimbabwe production of milk and dairy products, could you tell us what is the trend in dairy farms in Zimbabwe? Are you getting more and more farms, bigger farms, higher productivity? What are the trends in dairy farms in Zimbabwe?
Our trends as dairy farmers in Zimbabwe, we're in three categories. Basically, we've got large-scale farmers, who are bigger farmers and even mega. We also have medium-scale farmers, who are in the middle, and the small-scale farmers, who are almost the majority. However, we are one group, and we are all dairy farmers. We have got a target at the moment of reaching around 130 million liters to actually suffice our dairy demand in Zim. And we've got also a target which we are working together with the government of Zimbabwe of 400 million liters, so that we can also generate export.
So you have still an area for improvement in terms of volumes. You want to grow rapidly. Is it your goal in Zimbabwe as dairy farmers or association to increase the volumes and the productivity?
Yeah, we do see that we have got that capability to grow rapidly because we are ever increasing by 15% per annum.
Every year.
Yes. So that's an indication that there is actually a significant growth, and we are targeting to really actually cover that growth. Okay. We also have got support from the government, where we also have some kind of feed support in terms of silage to our small-scale farmers, where they are provided with seed to grow their own fodder. And that also is actually a booster. And in terms of large-scale farmers, we also have knowledge transfer between large-scale farmers to the medium-scale farmers and also the small-scale farmers.
So what we see is that it's not only a trend for farmers, but you get the support of government, you have programs behind that. Ms. Shadoka, we are talking about the production, milk production at farm gate level.
Right.
But what about infrastructure? Because once you want to grow 15% a year, you need to have the infrastructure that is following that. Points of collect, processors, plants, factories. How is infrastructure in Zimbabwe, or are there also investment foreseen in that sector?
Thank you very much for that question. When it comes to infrastructure, let me start by the logistics of moving milk. So we do have the different levels or scales of milk production. For example, the smallholder farmers, the small-scale farmers, those milking below 5 milking cows, they need to be able to take their milk to a collecting point, which is electricity and bulking. So some of our farmers do not have access to a bulking center. Some of our farmers have to walk long distances, which at times works against, our women when they have to walk long distances with cans of milk. And we have then seen a few initiatives coming from some NGOs where some solar tricycles have been introduced. But we really need those kind of things to be improved. And also the infrastructure in terms of our roads is something that we are getting support from the different stakeholders so that there's an improvement. We do have the National Dairy Corp, which is responsible for milk collection from the farms, and that is a farmer corp that is also a critical link between the farm level and the processor. So in terms of infrastructure at processor level, we have seen that we have several processors in the country, and their capacity at the moment is still there for our milk growth. They are operating at about 60% utilization, but infrastructure at farm level, that becomes the real issue that needs attention, because our farmers, they do need to have better housing facilities. As the dairies are growing, as the volume the chairman was talking to needs to grow, it needs to come with the infrastructure. So it really speaks to access to finance for our dairy farmers. There is a need for long-term, low, affordable access to finance, and those investments either as joint ventures, which are being encouraged by our government, or even outright access for the dairy farmers at their different scales. That would be my response in terms of infrastructure.
So we see that with your words, both words, that it's really a project supported by government involving, as you said, stakeholders, chain actors, farmers, but also roads to go to collecting point and processors all together. What about the succession, dear Chairman? We see that at least in Europe or in France there will be many replacements in coming years. Do you have the same situation in Zimbabwe? And how do you address the succession issue in dairy farms in Zimbabwe?
In terms of succession, yes, it's a challenge in Zimbabwe. However, also trying to find a way around it. We've got actually our older farmers actually now getting into retirement, and some young farmers are coming in. But there are also other challenges that are not like kind of appetizing for the young guys to come into dairy, whereby they are also having financial challenges where they can't access finance, and also
that's what you said.
And also women who are also interested in coming to dairy. But however, in terms of succession, we have seen a number of our older farmers now retiring, and on those family farms, the young men are also taking up, and it's looking good, and we're also trying to see how it goes and how we are going to win on it.
So we see once again the financing supporting program you are mentioning, and you were referring to this also, Ms. Chadoka. We have seen in the previous question that there were different stakeholders on how to share the value. What I want to ask you, Ms. Chadoka, is what are the key challenges the dairy chain in Zimbabwe will face, according to you, in the coming years?
Okay, so in terms of the challenges, there's the issue of competitiveness. That is a major issue for Zimbabwe's dairy value chain, especially in view of some trade agreements, the trade participation of Zimbabwe, where, for example, in Africa, we have the African Continent Free Trade Agreement, which will be already coming into effect, which means now that Zimbabwean products need to be competitive for us to be able to survive as dairy farmers, for us to also have our processors be able to survive. So at the moment, you find that our milk production costs are on the high side. That's why we are aggressive as dairy farmers to say, how do we reduce the cost of producing milk in Zimbabwe, so that when the processors add value to the various products range, they will still be able to have prices that are competitive, and that will be the survivability of Zimbabwe. Then in terms of the Zimbabwe dairy value chain, but also in terms of sustainability, this is a major issue as well, that from the key learnings of attending this particular World Summit, the World Dairy Summit, we were also interacting with my other Zimbabwean delegates to say we really need to come up with that dairy sustainability framework, which we implement in our country, not only from an assessment point, but even to say what needs to be done at farmer level to actually improve on animal welfare issues, to actually improve on climate change mitigation or climate smart proofing our dairy farming and all the operations along the dairy value chain. So the issue of sustainability is also something that will be very key for our stakeholder platform that the chairman mentioned. That is not just the farmers, but even the processors to actually bring support to farmer level, even the government to support us, even development partners we believe that there is a lot of room, especially for our smallholder farmers who also then need to participate in the dairy value chain, but they do need a form of support to get them started. And we're proud of some of the dairy development activities that we have done where right now those farmers are still part of the dairy value chain. So we want to see more Zimbabweans
All
coming
together.
on board. Yes. So I think that those would be really the issues that Zimbabwe needs to focus on for us to be remaining competitive as a dairy sector.
Mr. Warren Bua, we mentioned before succession, and you say it's a point, we have plans. What about inclusion? We talked about youth, women. Is it part of your programs, of your approach to speed up productivity, everything we talked about earlier?
As the Zimbabwe Association of Dairy Farmers, we have got a policy of inclusion, whereby we are saying we embrace everyone, women and youth. And we want to encourage them also to come in. They will also cover the gap of succession as they come in as even new entrants. Though, however, they've got also other challenges in terms of financing and also trying to start up new dairies. But as an association, we are quite inclusive, and we are also encouraging even skills transfer from the older guys who are retiring. They are also trying to train the new entrants in our inclusion policy.
So all talents are requested to succeed in the challenge you described earlier. As a chairman of the Zimbabwe Association of Dairy Farmers, what would be your last words?
As the chairman of the Zimbabwe Association of Dairy Farmers, my last words are we are very much committed to growing milk in Zimbabwe, to get to milk sufficiency, and also even to exporting. And we are also here for new engagements, learning from each other, and also trying to get into synergies of cooperation, even of working together, even knowledge transfer, and also trying to say we are here as dairy farmers.
Thank you very much for this ambitious project and the challenge you have in front of you. I wish you a very good summit to benchmark, to partners with some other actors, as you say, and you mentioned also development earlier. Thank you very much for your attendance at this TV set, and wish you the best for Zimbabwe Dairy Farms Challenge.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.